high fixed cost structure is that income will be higher in good years compared to companies with lower proportion of fixed cost. So, sinasabi lang na kapag higher yung fixed cost mo, mas malaki rin yung gain kapag yung maganda yung tinatakbo ni business. Ano? At ang ang disadvantage naman niyan, since yun yung kagandahan niya, the opposite would be mas malaki rin yung losses niya kapag naman bad days. Ano, yung tipong matumal, for example, matumal yung sales. So kapag high fixed cost ka, mas malaki yung maaari mong maging losses ano as compared doon sa low fixed cost. Ayan. So between these two, sinasabi yung low fixed cost is the safer. Ano, yun nga lang kapag yung hindi siya masyado magalaw ano. So kapag maganda ang takbo ng business, hindi gano'n kalaki ang kinikita ni low fixed cost as kumpara doon sa high fixed cost. And in the same manner, kapag hindi rin maganda yung takbo ni business, hindi naman gano'n kalaki yung nagiging losses niya as compared doon sa high fixed cost. So, in short, etong si high fixed cost is a risk taker. Ano, yung mataas yung risk, kaya mapapansin niyo mataas din naman yung kanyang gain. Tama naman yun. Ano, kapag if you want to have a higher gain, you have to risk more. Ayan. So, ganun si high fixed cost. Ano, pag mataas ang maganda ang performance ni business, mataas ang kanyang gain kumpara kay low fixed cost. At kapag pangit naman, mas malaki rin yung kanyang loss kumpara kay low fixed cost. Naintindihan? Ayan. Okay, so I asked you to have this studied on your own, ano, operating leverage, and I also told you just in case that you'll be having questions, sana ni-raise nyo over the weekend. Anyways, if you'll find na some queries about this, you may still ask me siguro during this week na lang, ano, the entire week kasi hindi naman kayo nag-raise. And as mentioned, we will proceed to the chapter 7 since we still have two more chapters to discuss prior to your midterm examination. Okay? Tama naman ano, yun yung naging kasunduan natin kasi hindi na natin kinaya ng oras. Ayan. Okay. Again, you may raise this some questions naman kung meron kayo. Sasagot naman ako. And hopefully, when you raise it, make sure doon na sa ating GC ano para na sa kaalaman ng lahat. Wait lang, mag-charge lang ang laptop. Okay, so chapter 7, that is about variable costing. Ano? Ayan. Nakikita naman naka-share na. Tama ba? Ayan. So, we have two approaches, more general approaches when we're doing the valuing or giving values or evaluating these inventories and cost of goods sold. So one approach is called the absorption costing, that is generally used for external reporting, and the other one is the variable costing, which is essential for managers. So that's why they are uh, prefer these managers do prefer this to have this option or approach in doing decision making. Ano, ayan. And as you can see, yung ating income statement doon sa contribution format natin, ang gamit doon is variable costing, yung diniscuss natin doon sa chapter 6. Ano? Ayan. And in this chapter, which is the chapter 7, we will show or we will try to know to discuss ano ba yung difference ng dalawang to, the absorption costing and the variable costing. Ayan. So, si absorption costing, which is called as full costing din, ano, ayan. So, as you can see, this charges products with all manufacturing costs. Ano, lahat mapupunta as product cost. Itong si direct materials, direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead, and fixed manufacturing overhead. So, they are all classified under product cost. Diba? Meron tayong classification ng cost. So, we have the product cost and the period cost. Ayan. So, under absorption costing, these four are part of this product cost. And then the remaining SG&A, both variable and fixed SG&A or selling and administrative expenses fall under this period cost. Okay? Whereas kay variable costing, product cost only consists of the direct materials, direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead. And yung fixed manufacturing overhead ay part ni period cost kasama nung dating SG&A. So basically, yan yung difference ng dalawang to. Ano, yung treatment para kay fixed manufacturing overhead. Kay absorption costing, this fixed manufacturing overhead is treated as part of the product cost, whereas under variable costing, this fixed manufacturing overhead is treated as part of the period cost. And when we do this CVP analysis, ano, yung relationship, yung ginawa natin sa chapter 6, since sabi ko nga sa inyo, ang ginamit natin doon is variable costing. Kasi yung fixed manufacturing overhead natin ay naging part siya ng period cost. Kung matatandaan nyo, we have this sales less by our variable expenses. Ano? And after which, nagkaroon tayo ng CM, saka pa natin ni-less yung ating fixed manufacturing or fixed expenses natin. Ayan. So, this variable costing supports this CVP analysis wherein yung absorption costing natin does not. Ano? Kasi kay absorption costing, wala tayong distinction between these two manufacturing overhead. Kasi pinagsama natin yung variable manufacturing overhead at saka yung fixed manufacturing overhead as part of the product cost. Ayan. Kaya kay variable cost magkahiwalay sila. Ano? Ayan. So let's have this an example. So Harvey Company produces a single product with the following information available. So number of units produced annually is 25,000 units. So we have this variable cost per unit, direct materials, direct labor, and variable manufacturing overhead as $10 each. Ano? And selling and administrative expense, that is $3 per unit. So again, these are variable cost per unit. So this would differ depending on the number of units produced. Ano? And then we have the fixed cost per year manufacturing overhead. Fixed manufacturing overhead is 150,000. And then fixed SG&A is $100,000. Ano? So meron tayong variable SG&A, meron tayong fixed SG&A. So to compute for the unit product cost, using these two costing approaches, we have the absorption and the variable costing. Under the absorption, so in direct materials natin, direct labor and variable manufacturing overhead, that is $10. So same lamang din kay variable costing. Ano? Kasi In these two, part naman talaga siya ng ating product cost. Then pagdating kay fixed manufacturing overhead, since meron tayong fixed manufacturing overhead here na $150,000 at kay absorption costing, sabi natin si fixed manufacturing overhead is part of the product cost. Therefore, this $150,000 would be divided by $25,000 at 25,000 units in order to compute for the fixed manufacturing overhead cost per unit, and that is $6. And then, taking the sum of these two, we will get the unit product cost as $16 per unit. Okay? Whereas kay variable costing, si fixed manufacturing overhead is treated as part of the period cost. Therefore, we will not be adding anything dito. Ano? As part of our unit product cost. So solely, ang ating product cost lamang per unit would be $10. Ayan. Okay? So from there pa lang nakita nyo na yung difference. Ano? So magbabago yung unit product cost under these two approaches. We have $16 for absorption and $10 for variable costing. And of course, sabi dyan, selling and administrative expenses are always treated as period expenses and deducted from revenue as incurred. So in both approaches, absorption and variable costing, the SG&A are treated as period expenses or period cost. Ano? So, naintindihan pa so far? Okay. So, income comparison of absorption and variable costing. So, let's assume this following additional data or additional information for Harvey Company. Let's say the Harvey Company was able to sell 20,000 units during the year at a price of $30 each. And sabi rin dyan, there were no units in beginning inventory. So out of 25,000 units that were manufactured, ayan, ano, so 20,000 daw yung nabenta, and we will try to compute for the net operating income using these two approaches, the absorption costing and the variable costing. Sinabi rin dyan na no units in beginning inventory. Okay. So using the absorption costing, sales natin or revenue would be equal to 20,000. Ayun yung nabenta. Given yung $30 each as selling price. Therefore, we have $600,000 as revenue. Ileles natin si cost of goods sold. Beginning inventory natin is zero. Tama? Kasi wala naman daw. Na minention doon na wala tayong beginning inventory. COGM natin or cost of goods manufactured, that is 25,000 units times 16, 'di ba? The Harvey Company produced 25,000 units, and yung ating unit product cost, yung kinompute natin kanina, that is $16. That is why we have here $400,000 as COGM. Adding them to, or these two, we got 400,000 pa rin kasi wala nga tayong beginning inventory. Then, yung ending inventory natin, ileless, kasi hindi naman siya nabenta, using the absorption costing, we have 5,000 multiplied by $16 each. So that is from 25,000 less 20,000. So we are expecting the ending inventory as 5,000. So multiplied by the unit product cost, that is $16. So you have 80,000. And we have got 400 minus 80, that is 320,000. So this would be deducted from the sales. So we got gross margin as $280,000. Then ileles natin si period cost, ano? So si variable at saka si fixed SG&A. So si variable natin is 20,000 times 3 kasi ang nabenta lang natin is 20,000 units. Under absorption costing, siya lamang yung i-recognize natin as expense. Multiplied by $3 each, so you got $60,000. Yung fixed natin, fixed expense natin is 100,000. So we got SG&A or selling and administrative expenses as 160,000, ileles dun sa gross margin natin. So we got the net operating income as 100,000. $20,000. Can you follow? Okay. So next, we will be having this net operating income computed using the variable costing. So similar pa rin, 600,000 yung ating revenue. Ililist natin, beginning inventory, 0. COGM natin, 25,000 yung na-produce or na-manufacture. This time, we will be multiplying that by $10, which is the variable, which is the product cost, or yung unit product cost natin. Yun yung kinompute natin. So that is $10 each. So we get 250,000. So goods available for sale natin is 250,000 less yung ating ending inventory. Again, that would be multiplied by $10 each. So we got 50,000. And we got the variable cost of goods sold as 250 minus 50K. We got 200,000. Then, i-add natin dyan yung variable and selling administrative expense natin. That is 20,000. Yun yung nabenta natin multiplied by $3 then. So, we got $60,000. And that makes 600 less 260. We got contribution margin as $340,000. Now, saka pa natin ililes yung ating fixed expenses. Part ni fixed expenses under the variable costing yung manufacturing overhead. So dito nag-differ. Dito manufacturing overhead natin is 150,000. So regardless kung hindi nabenta yung lahat, mabenta o hindi mabenta lahat, ang i-reflect natin using variable costing is the full or the whole manufacturing overhead, which is 150,000. And then selling and administrative expense, 100,000. Therefore, we have 340 minus 250, that is net operating income of 90,000. So, ayun yung difference natin with absorption costing. Ayan. So, dito na nag-reflect yung $6. Di ba? Ito ay 16, yung $6 dito is part ng ating fixed manufacturing overhead na ni-reflect kay absorption costing as part of the product cost. But this time, since ang nabenta lang naman ay 20,000, so you got yung difference nito, 25 times minus 5. So yung 20,000, yun lamang yung na-account. 6 multiplied by 20,000 units, that's 120,000. Whereas dito, kay variable costing, yung manufacturing overhead or yung fixed manufacturing overhead, which treated as part of the period cost, kahit pa hindi nabenta lahat yung buong 25,000, ni-reflect na dito yung buong 150,000 as fixed manufacturing overhead. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, 120,000 lang yung ni-reflect dito or na-account kasi based yun sa naging benta, dito ay 150,000. So meaning may 30,000 silang difference. At yun yung reason kung bakit pagdating sa net income, mas mataas yung ating net income using the absorption costing kumpara kay variable costing by 30,000 dahil dito sa fixed manufacturing overhead natin. Naintindihan? Can you follow? Ayun. So as we compare, ito rin yun. Ayan. So we got the cost of goods sold, the ending inventory, the period expense, and the total. So using absorption costing, we got the variable manufacturing cost as 200,000, ending inventory 50,000. So similar lamang kay variable costing. But pagdating kay fixed manufacturing overhead, kay cost of goods sold, 120,000 pa lang yung kanyang in-acknowledge as expense since hindi pa nabenta yung 5,000 units. At eto siya. Andito pa siya sa ending inventory. Ayan. Unlike kay variable costing, trinit na as expense yung ang buong 150,000 na fixed manufacturing cost. regardless kung nabenta man o hindi yung buong production na 25,000 units. But then again, pagdating mo sa total, babangga pa rin naman sila. So yung breakdown lang, it will show kung bakit sila nagkaroon din ng difference doon pa lang sa net operating income. Okay? And to reconcile, of course, sasabihin natin, no, bakit may 30,000? So na-explain ko naman kanina, no? So that is the reason why we have this tawag dito, difference between these two net operating incomes coming from the absorption costing and the variable costing. So as you can see, the variable costing net operating income as we computed is 90,000, and the absorption costing net operating income is 120,000. At ito yung difference nila na 30,000. That is yung fixed manufacturing overhead cost na na-defer doon sa inventory. Naiwan siya doon sa ating method ni absorption costing. Kaya nga mas mataas to ng naging net income. Ano? Ayan. So ito napabawas doon sa 120, kaya naging 90 lamang to. But if you do add these two, yung 90,000 na net income using variable costing at saka yung na-defer pa doon sa ating inventory na hindi pa nabebenta, which is under the fixed manufacturing overhead cost, that is 30,000. Ano? Ayan. So bangga rin naman sila ng 120. Okay? Ayun. And if we are to extend, so we discussed that yung year 1 ni Harvey Company, if we extend this comparison of income data between these approaches, ano, sabihin natin may year 2 si Harvey Company, so yung number of units produced is 25,000. Pakitulong nga magbasa. Papasahin lang naman yung halos, ano, na may konting emphasis. Ashley, nasakit lang lalamunan ko na. Sige, pasuyo.
Number of units produced, 25,000. Number of units sold, 30,000. Units in beginning inventory, 5,000. Unit sales price, $30. For the variable cost per units, we have direct materials, direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead, $10. Selling and administrative expenses, $3. For the fixed cost per year, we have manufacturing overhead, $150,000, and the selling and administrative expenses, $100,000.
Okay, so halos wala pa rin nagbago ano sa year 2. So ang production the same 25,000. Yung unit sale price same na $30 each. Variable cost per unit and fixed cost per year pare-paras lang. So nagkaroon lang ng changes pagdating dito sa number of units sold. We got 30,000. Why? Now my question is why? Bakit paano na nagkaroon tayo ng benta na 30,000 considering na ang ating total units produced for this year is 25,000 only. Bakit kaya nagkaroon tayo ng how this Harvey Company was able to sell 30,000 units wherein the total production for that year was just only 25,000 units. Anyone? Yes, Sheila, Alexis.
Kasi po may ending inventory po tayo ng year 1 na 5,000 units.
Okay, so that answers the question. We have this ending inventory nung year 1, so na-carry over siya and it became the beginning inventory in year 2. So with that, nag-produce ka pa ng 25,000 units, so you have 30,000 available for sales. Kaya this Harvey Company was able to sell the 30,000 units. Ayan. Ganun lang 'yan. Thank you. And to compute for the unit cost computation would be the same. So same pa rin naman, wala kang binago sa mga variable cost per unit, direct materials, etc. Sa fixed cost yung pa rin. So same pa rin yung makukuha nating unit product cost using absorption and variable costing for year 2. So 16 and $10 respectively pa rin. Ayan. So as we compute for the net operating income using the absorption costing, so we got $30,000 by 30,000 units by $30. So we got 900,000 as revenue. Less natin yung cost of goods sold. So we have the 5,000 units as beginning inventory multiplied by 16 yung ating unit product cost. That is 80,000. Then we have the COGM or cost of goods manufactured. Again, 25,000 pa rin naman for that year multiplied by 16. So we got 400,000. So yung goods available natin for sale is the 30,000 units or in dollars, that would be $480,000. Less ending inventory, zero, meaning nabenta lahat. So yung expense natin, eto na siya for the cost of goods sold. Ano, so for 80,000, ileless natin sa 900. We got 420,000 as gross margin. Then ililess si variable and fixed expense, fixed selling and administrative expenses as these are the period cost based on the absorption costing. Ano? So we got 30,000 units multiplied by $3 per unit as variable SG&A. So we get 90,000. Then fixed SG&A is 100,000. So for 20 less 190, you got $230,000 as net operating income for the year 2 of Harvey Company using the absorption costing. Okay? Next, let's see ano naman nangyari sa net income ni Harvey using the variable costing. So same pa rin yung ating sales, no? This time, $10 ulit yung ating multiplier as unit product cost. Kasi nga yung fixed manufacturing overhead ay doon pa magre-reflect sa ating part ng period cost. Ano? Ayan. So our available goods for sale would be 300,000 since wala namang natirang inventory. Therefore, our variable cost of goods sold is 300,000 plus yung ating variable selling and administrative expense. That's 30,000 times 3. So we get a total of 390,000. Ileless natin siya sa sales. Ito yung ating total variable expenses. And then less doon sa ating sales, we will get the contribution margin which is $510,000. And then ileless natin tong fixed expenses natin which is 250. So we got $260,000. So kung mapapansin nyo, ganito yung ginagawa natin sa ating contribution income statement. Ano? Naka-variable costing kasi yung approach doon. We have the sales less variable expenses. After that, magkakaroon tayo ng contribution margin. Tapos ileles pa natin, saka pa natin ileles ang fixed expenses bago pa tayo magkaroon ng net operating income. In this approach lang, or in this example lang, nakadetalye. Ano? Kung ano-ano ba yung variable expenses, ano-ano ba yung sakop or merong fixed expenses na present. Ano? Ayan. So, as you can see, mas mataas naman ngayon ng 30,000 si variable costing kumpara kay kanino? Kumpara kay absorption costing. Ano? Kanina 30,000 230,000 lang 'to. Ayan. This time 260,000 si variable costing. So bakit kaya? Bakit kaya siya ngayon mas mataas kumpara doon kay absorption costing? Kasi na-release na natin yung ating inventory. Ano? Kanina yung na-treat lamang or na acknowledge lang na expense para doon sa fixed manufacturing overhead ay para lamang sa 20,000 units. Tama? Tama ba? 20,000 units lang. Kaya instead of having 150,000 doon sa absorption costing, ang naging expense lamang under manufacturing overhead fixed is 120,000. That was 20,000 units multiplied by $6 per unit. Ano? Kaya naman mas malaki yung naging kita niya kumpara kay absorption costing. But now, pagdating dito sa year 2, ano, 150,000 to, but yung nag-reflect naman dito kay pangalan to, kay absorption costing, ayan. So you got here 5,000 plus 25,000, so 30,000 multiplied by 16. Andito yung ano ngayon nandito? Yung ating fixed manufacturing expense, fixed manufacturing overhead expense. So 30 multiplied by 6, yung total nito, 30,000 multiplied by 6, that is 180. Hindi ko na sinama yung 10 ha, kaya 6 lang, yun yung difference ng dalawa. So 180,000 ngayon yung kanyang in-acknowledge dito as expense na niles dito sa sales. Whereas pagdating dito sa ating uh, variable costing, still 150,000 pa rin yung kanyang uh, manufacturing overhead. Sabi natin, pagdating kay variable costing, regardless kung nabenta o hindi lahat yung ating product or kung may mabenta pa na coming from the inventory of the past, same pa rin yung ating fixed manufacturing expense. Kay absorption costing, nagkaroon ng delay. 'Di ba? Yung sinasabi natin, nagkakaroon ng delay kasi nga hindi pa nila in-acknowledge kasi hindi pa nabenta. Hindi pa nila in-acknowledge yung fixed manufacturing expense na yon. Ang in-acknowledge lang na nila is para doon sa 20,000 units. And ngayon, na nabenta na yung lahat, kaya siya bumaba naman yung kanyang um, net operating income as compared to variable costing. Kasi mas malaki naman ngayon na expense niya as to the fixed manufacturing overhead expense. Kasi 180,000 naman ngayon yung magre-reflect sa kanya kumpara dito kay variable costing na 150,000 pa rin. Naintindihan? Naintindihan ba? Okay. So, when we do the reconciliation, ganun din naman. So, variable costing, so that is 260,000. At ito naman yung difference nila. $30,000. That is yung para doon sa fixed manufacturing overhead expense nga na na-release na natin from inventory kasi nga nabenta na siya. So to have this comparison, during the first period, absorption costing has gained higher net operating income, which is 120,000 versus the 90,000 of variable costing. Second period, mas mataas naman si variable costing by the same amount na 30,000. After 2 years of operation, yung total nila, same lamang din naman na 350,000 yung naging net operating income using these two approaches. Yan. Kasi at the end of the 2 years, lahat naman nabenta, lahat ng na-produce, lahat nabenta. So, regardless kung ano yung magiging computation mo, kung ang ginawa mong pagko-compute ay after 2 years, both magbibigay sa atin ng 350,000 na total as net operating income. Yun nga lang, pag by year siya, gaya nito, since nagkaroon ng delay doon sa ating sales kasi nga yung 5,000 units out of 25,000 units na produce ay hindi pa nabenta, ito yung magiging impact niya. Ayan. And to summarize this, we have this relationship between production and sales, the effect on inventory, and relationship between variable and absorption income or net operating income. So when the production is greater than sales, yun yung ating year 1 dun sa ating example under Harvey Company. Yung production natin was 25,000, pero yung sales natin is just 20,000. Meron pa tayong natirang 5,000 units unsold. So production is greater than sales. So we have increased yung inventory natin, kasi may tira ka from zero, nag-increase siya. Tama? Yung beginning inventory natin ng zero, so nagkaroon ng increase na 5,000 as ending inventory. And then, as you can see, yung net income using absorption costing is greater than the net income in variable costing. And yung year 2, yung production is equal less than sales, wherein yung production natin is 25,000, but at that year, nabenta rin yung remaining inventory of 5,000. That makes yung sales natin greater than dun sa production. Ano, nakapagbenta tayo ng 30,000 units, but ang production lang natin ng year na yun is 25,000 units. So, mas mataas si sales. So, with that, nagkaroon tayo ng decrease in inventory kasi yung ating beginning inventory here was 5,000 units. Ano, yan yung nanggaling sa year 1. And then, nag-decrease siya to 0 kasi nga nabenta naman lahat. Okay? And the relationship, this time yung net income natin using the absorption costing is less than the net income that we computed using the variable costing. At na-explain ko na rin siya kanina. Ano? And when the production is equal to sales, so makikita nyo yung summary doon sa dulo kanina, yung present ko, yung 350,000, ayan. No? Ayan, so equal yung production sa sales. So yung total na na-produce natin in 2 years was 50,000. Ano? And in 2 years, nabenta rin naman lahat siya. Ayan. So when the production is equal to sales, so there'll be no change in inventory. If you started in year 1 as 0, yung beginning inventory, matapos yung year 2, since nabenta lahat, 0 pa rin yung iyong ending inventory. Ano, kaya no change to. Then, as you can see, the income or net operating income sa absorption costing natin is equal to the net operating income that we got using the variable costing. Ito yon. Naintindihan ba? Okay. Okay. So, meron dito a revision of the Harvey company example. So, na-discuss ko na naman sa inyo yung tatlong scenario. Ano? Ito yung tatlong scenario na possible na mangyari. Ayan. When the production is greater than sales, so yung year 1, production is less than sales, that is year 2, production is equal to sales, yun yung at the end of 2 years. Ano? So, in this one, nung ni-revise daw yung example, eto na, um, in this revised example, production will differ each year while sales will remain constant. So, magbabago naman daw a production. Doon sa ating kaninang diniscuss, constant yung production at 25,000 units per year, but the sales differ. Ano, yung isa, 20,000 yung naging benta muna, yung pangalawang year 2, 30,000 naman yung unit sold. So this time, i-revise daw yung ating example in such a way na magre-retain yung ating number of sales, but the production will differ. So I will let this to you na para isagutin as your practice. Ano, although dito naman na-solve na yan. Ano, solve na dito, but then again, I want you to try to look at it at your free time or during your review. Ano, so paano ba yung magiging effect? Ayan. So kayo nang bahala diyan. I guess kaya nyo na yan since na-discuss ko na naman yung example. Ano, ayan, para makatipid lang din tayo sa oras din. Ayan. So, if I were you, try to solve that nang hindi mo na to titingnan, ano, atong solution. At saka nyo na lang i-compare yung magiging sagot nyo doon sa solution na given dito. Ano, so, I'll be giving this to you naman. Ayan. Okay, so, there are some notes lamang bago matapos tong chapter 7. So, pakibasa na nga, impact on the manager. Nicole Mercado.
Impact on the manager. Opponents of absorption costing argue that shifting fixed manufacturing overhead costs between periods can lead to misinterpretation, and faulty decisions. Those who favor variable costing argue that the income statements are easier to understand because net operating income is only affected by changes in unit sales. The resulting income amounts are more consistent with managers' expectations.
Ayun. So, sabi nga diyan, yung mga, kontra ano, yung not in favor of this absorption costing and of course in favor of this variable costing, they have this argument that shifting fixed manufacturing overhead costs between periods ano, yun yung ginawa natin kanina, can lead to misinterpretations and faulty decisions. Yan. At sinasabi din na yun yung mga, proponents or mga in favor of this, variable costing, mas madali ano, naintindihin, that is easier to understand, yung income statement kasi nga this could be only affected by the changes in unit sales. So regardless kung ano magiging changes mo in other accounts, ano, let's say dun sa mga variable expenses, et cetera, fixed expenses, so that would not be, affecting the income statements, ano, unless, magkaroon na ng changes nga is etong ating unit sales, ano. So siya na lang yung nagiging basis natin kasi nga dun sa ating tawag dito, sa variable costing, in-account na naman natin yung ating mga fixed expenses, ano. So kung nagkaroon ng variation diyan dun sa unit sales, it won't, yun lang yung magiging, magko-cause ng effect dun sa ating income statement kasi nga, sabi ko nga regardless kung nabenta man o hindi lahat ng na-produce natin in that period, since na-account na natin yung tawag dito, fixed expenses, so it would no longer affect yung ating income statement, ano. Kasi nga din, lagi namang meron tayong fixed expenses na ma-incur or magiging gastos regardless kung meron tayong ma-produce or wala, or kung may ma-produce man at hindi mabenta lahat, meron tayong fixed expenses na ma-incur, ano. That is the very reason why I was, telling you before na, yung mga, downtime natin as much as possible nililimitahan sa operation. Kasi nga possible na kung may downtime ka, mababa yung production mo, yet meron kang, fixed expenses, ano, meron kang mga expenses pa rin na ma-incur. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na wala kang na-produce, eh, wala kang na expenses. Kaya as much as possible, we're making the best out of it, the most out of it, ano, ng mga expenses natin na incur so that the business would gain, ano, ayan. Kahit nga wala kang na-produce diyan for some reasons, let's say yung nagkaroon ng trouble, et cetera, meron ka pa ring, um, gastos ano or expenses. Hindi naman solely nakadepende sa production mo yung gastos. Kasi possible nga na kung wala ka ring ma-provide, ma-produce or mabenta, may gastos at may gastos ka. Ayan. And again, ayan lang, absorption costing does not support CVP analysis kasi nga yung treatment niya dun sa ating fixed manufacturing overhead as part of the product cost, ano. Ayan. Unlike a variable costing, this fixed manufacturing overhead is treated as part of the period cost. And here are some advantages of variable costing, ano. So um, the data required for cost volume profit analysis can be taken directly from a contribution, format income statement. Ayan. So we have this consistency with the CVP analysis. We have the net operating income is closer to net cash flow. So management finds it's more useful. So consistency with the standard cost and flexible budgeting, easier to estimate profitability of products and segments. Profit is not affected by changes in inventories. Ayan, yung nakita nyo naman, ano. And then impact of fixed costs on profits. Ayan. Yan. So ito na rin yung na-mention ko kanina. Ano? that regardless um, regardless na kung may ma-produce ka man o wala, these fanatics of variable costing argue that fixed manufacturing cost should not be considered as product cost. Ano, kasi nga they would be incurred, mag-incur naman sila if even if no units were produced. Ano, so dapat matreat sila as period cost instead of product cost, and that is from the believers of this variable costing. Okay, and that ends our chapter 7. So after the break, we will be discussing the chapter 8, and that would be at 3:30. Ano? So short break muna tayo. Then we'll be resuming at 3:30 to discuss chapter 8. Thank you.